So, as of the time of making this video, Deltarune chapters 3 and 4 are coming out very soon, probably. So, I wanted to give myself the challenge of designing some fan characters. For chapter 3 specifically, I'm not really gonna be going into any chapter 4 characters and beyond, mostly just because we don't really have much information of stuff past chapter 3 really. For chapter 3, we have a pretty good idea of what it is going to be, so I thought, you know, I could actually like do something with substance, you know? So, this video is kind of mostly intended for Deltarune fans who are like caught up with the lore and everything. Really, if you're not familiar with the lore, just don't worry about it. There will probably be spoilers too, so be aware of that, but that's kind of, you know, self-explanatory I think at this point. So, there are 3 main categories for how I kind of sorted these characters, I think. The first one being darkeners based off items we can physically see and or read narration about. The second one being objects we don't see but can be speculated to be there. And the third one being just general TV stuff. There's also 5 subcategories, although don't take them with too much weight because like as I was designing them, I wasn't really thinking of the subcategories necessarily for each and every one of them, but they are 1. Generic recruit darkeners, 2. Mini bosses, 3. Shopkeepers, 4. A secret boss, and 5. The main boss. Something to remember here is that the point of all this isn't to make like spot on predictions, but it's simply just to have fun and speculate various things that could appear. Honestly, it's just a fun design challenge and I really recommend doing it even if you don't have any experience with art and character design. It's just a fun thing to do for funsies. But yeah, let's actually get into it. Alright, so first off, we have Chairiel, the beloved living room chair, of course. I say first off because this was the first one I drew, I'm pretty sure. I haven't decided like what order it's gonna be in the video yet. It's probably gonna be first. So yes, hello, welcome to the thing. So yeah, it is the first one I made for this. I just thought that it would be the easiest. It seems like the most obvious thing to do first. That's not like, you know, anything bigger. And of course, because this was the first one I did, there is no time lapse because I didn't think to do that at that point. For the next one, there will be a time lapse, and for all of them, there will be a time lapse. But for this one, you don't get it. You just get the final result. But I'll try to talk about the design process I went through, like I will for all of them. First of all, it's pretty clear to point out that I based her off of Chairiel because, you know, that's her chair. So really, I was looking at a few things here. It is, you know, it is not copying, well, it is like reminiscent of Chairiel's like standard pose, I guess. I don't know how you would describe that, but I did obviously try to make the color scheme very similar. I didn't directly color pick it. I don't think I did that for any of them really. Not a huge fan of color picking. I tried to make the colors similar. I do know that it's probably gonna change from the light world to the dark world, so like I don't know if there's any, you know, real merit in keeping it the same here. But I do think the warm colors kind of suit her for what kind of character this would be. Just kind of like a warm and like, you know, motherly figure is what I think this would be at the end of the day. I can't really imagine it being anything else, just going off of Chairiel's character. I did have an idea that kind of similar to Chairiel. This character would actually be like kind of scary at some points, but like still just like ultimately well intentioned. So as for actual design things, this bonnet slash like I don't know how you would call it. I guess like a shawl. It's obviously taken from the fabric. I don't know what you would call this either, but like the fabric on top of Chairiel, the actual chair. I thought it would be pretty clear that it could be like a shawl to start off with, but it does go over like the top part of the chair. So, you know, that made me think that I should probably cover the head with it as well. So that's basically what the bonnet ended up being. And it is similar to QC's concept art. It wasn't like intentional, but like halfway through drawing it, I was like, oh, this looks like QC's concept art. So there's some kind of a connection. I don't know what exactly the connection is, but it's there. And then I should probably talk about the head shape. Now, I did want to like retain the general like silhouette of Chairiel's like ears, and you could probably see that here. Although it ended up being like more so just like a part of her face. I kind of left it ambiguous as to whether or not they're like her ears or her like just like, you know, her face. And that is intentional. I was mostly thinking of Ralsei and like what Ralsei looks like when he is wearing his hat, and also how he's portrayed in some art, because I wouldn't want this character to look exactly like Chairiel. I think that would be a little weird. I think that'd be a little strange if it's supposed to be like a separate character. It doesn't make a lot of sense for two characters to look exactly the same. And yeah, you could argue about the boss monsters and Ralsei, but I still think they have like their own defining characteristics. And this is a darkener. It wouldn't just be like, she's not like an actual boss monster. So yeah, so her ears slash her face kind of resemble Ralsei's ears when he's wearing his hat and in some art. that's what's going on with her ears. Or face. I don't know. Which one is it? It can be your choice, really. You know, I was definitely just thinking of Ralsei in general, because I think this kind of a character, just like conceptually, if Chairiel does turn out to be a darkener, I think she has some similarities with Ralsei, probably. You know, being that she is a darkener that does resemble a boss monster in some ways. So yeah, I think like there could definitely be some stuff there. Like if it is a shopkeeper, you know, then there's probably not going to be room for like direct interactions between her and Ralsei, but like there's a potential. There's a potential there. There also is, of course, you know, a lot of potential for, you know, interactions between her and Chairiel herself. Although, of course, if she is a shopkeeper, there is that problem because there probably can't be too many interactions. It's kind of, you know, when shopkeepers talk, it's usually just like directed towards Chris mostly, so that's kind of a problem, but we'll see what happens. I mean, I think it would be weird if there was a Chairiel Darkener and she didn't interact with Chairiel, because they're like basically the same person, but we'll see. Yeah, so I think that's all I have to say about Chairiel here. I guess she's also one of the only characters here that actually has a name, but that's just, you know, by virtue of her, you know, having a name. And then I would certainly categorize this character as a shopkeeper. I can't really imagine her in any other role. I think shopkeeper definitely suits her. So this is the other chair in Chris's living room that has no narration about it, but it is there, and it's pretty much implied to be Asgore's old chair. Like that's where Asgore would sit. So that's really what I was working off for this design. So I did make it very similar to my Chairiel design, kind of working off the same idea of like, I want it to look like a boss monster, I kind of want it to look like Asgore, but not really the same at the same time. I really implemented that like silhouette idea again. And like with Chairiel, I also used a similar color scheme that the actual thing has. I think I was thinking of making it like a bit more mellowed out or like kind of desaturated than what ended up being, but I didn't, so I don't know, I guess I wanted to be like still recognizable, although I think you could get the idea for what the character is, especially if you put it side by side with my Chairiel design. As for what the character actually is, I kind of only have like a vague idea. I mean, personality wise, not like Asgore. I think that's the biggest difference. Like, Chairiel is similar to Toriel in personality, I think, at least in my interpretation. This guy, however, not so much, not similar to his counterpart. He's just like a lot more openly, I wrote it out, but I say more outwardly solemn. I guess that's a good description. The idea was that he would have like the same relationship with Chairiel that Toriel and Asgore have. So he is the most divorced man, even beating out Asgore himself, I guess. Well, yes, like Asgore is probably not dealing with the divorce like as healthily as he could be. I guess this guy, his counterpart, is just like more outwardly like very angry and sad, you know, like he's dealing with his emotions not well. He doesn't know how to deal with them, and he's pissed. He's pissed that he fumbled a baddie, I guess, as the kids say. That was generally the idea I had for the character. So, you know, I also wanted him to look like a bit like rough, I guess, as well. So as for which category to put him in, I'm not sure really. I think like conceptually, I feel like just like on a conceptual level, like this dark nerd in general, I think fits for a secret boss. This specific guy I made, probably not. So like I feel like I can't really put him into any of the categories that I like very specifically laid out, so maybe he'd just be like a random NPC, honestly. That feels like the best direction for this interpretation specifically. Yeah. I feel kind of bad. It feels like this guy kind of got the short end of the stick, but I did wanna make something out of this fucking chair, because I think there is something there with that. So yeah. Okay, so this is the Book of Hymns. I'm pretty sure this was the second design I made after Chairiel. So kind of the first like standard one. I went into it a little scared because I was like, what can I make out of a Book of Hymns? I did end up making like two designs more or less. One of them more standard and then one of them more like, you know, actual, I don't know what you would call it. You'll see when I sort them out at the end here. So yeah, I was working off like more of the religious imagery that we've already kind of seen, as well as like, you know, actual real life inspiration. So their clothes are based off of like choir robes because they are a Book of Hymns after all, and then their hair, or whatever you want to call it, is based off of like angel wings. Now, I think it would be weird for a minor character to have such like strong angel imagery, so I wanted to keep it subtle in the end. Although, like, you know, they are intrinsically linked with the religion of hometown, so I kind of had to do something there. And then to fit it into the TV theme, which is kind of something I struggled with throughout this whole thing, but I did fit it into the TV theme ultimately by making it some sort of idol, I guess, is like literally what I wrote down. I think that makes sense to me, apart from my own bias, because I like idols and stuff. But, you know, making something that's supposed to be like song related and then, you know, mashing that with TV, you get idols. I think that kind of seems like the logical conclusion to me. So the more like humanoid, I guess, design we'll call it, is certainly more like idol-y based. You can see I gave her more of like a frilly outfit. I still wanted her to like more or less have like the robe inspired design, so I kept that, but I added like I added like a skirt kind of thing, and then kind of like, you know, just more frills and stuff. I kind of added more to the hair and all of that. Yeah, and then I also wrote down, if the chapter 4 Dark World is the church, I think this character could definitely be friends with a lot of the Darkners in the chapter 4 Dark World. Because I do really think it's gonna be the church, so that does make sense to me. I would put the smaller design as a generic recruit darkener, and then I would put the more humanoid design as a mini boss. So now we have the knockoff controller that was mentioned twice so far. Design wise, I kind of struggled with this one, mostly just because it's not a design, not a type of design I'm used to drawing. There is some motifs kinda that I reuse for a later character, you'll see. I wanted to base it off the N64 controller design for multiple reasons, although mostly just because I think it's a cool looking controller. You know, as a kid, I always thought this controller was like really uncomfortable to hold, but I did think it looked really cool. So, and I do think that there is definitely potential for like a character to be made out of it. Ultimately, I kind of just slapped the controller itself on this character's head. I don't really know how I feel about that now. And it is supposed to be a knockoff controller, but it pretty much just looks like the actual N64 controller, so that probably wouldn't be in the game. But that's what we're doing here. I tried to make it like there's supposed to be like a kind of Mega Man inspiration here. I just thought that would suit it, especially like considering what it is. And then because it's like an old knockoff controller, I tried to draw like cracks and like missing buttons and stuff like that. But yeah, and then I made it green because Asgore wears a green sweater. That's pretty legit. And the yellow as well is there too. And we know that Asgore used the knockoff controller assumedly quite a bit. I'm not too crazy about like this design that I made. And I didn't really know how to also fit it into the TV theme really. Although like I wouldn't be surprised if there is a lot of video game references in this chapter, because like there has already been a lot of references to games that were played on the TV. And then even if you look at like the Spam and Sweepstakes, which is like full of chapter 3 teasers, there's a lot to do with like dragon blazers specifically. So like, you know, general video game stuff in chapter 3, would not be surprised. So yeah, this would probably work as a mini boss. I think like conceptually it could also work as a secret boss. Not this specific guy though, probably a mini boss. Maybe even like a generic darkener, although I don't know about that because there is only like one knockoff controller. I'll say mini boss. These guys, as you can pretty clearly see, are based off of the shampoo bottles in the bathroom. Not much to say here really. One of them is apple scented, one of them is the pet shampoo that Chairiel uses probably. Yeah, I kind of like what they did with the apple one with like the leaf sticking out of its head. I don't know, I mean generally I think these are some pretty cute designs if I must say, but overall not much to say. I do think like unironically there is some level of lore relevance to the apple shampoo at least, but for this I don't know, I just made some little guys and I don't have a lot to say about them. I intended them to be generic recruit darkeners. So this is a cactus darkener. I am aware that we do like see the actual cactuses in the dark world, and they do not turn into like any other sentient creature. Like they're literally just cactuses with a different color scheme. We can see that in the green room. So there is that. So that really like reduces the chances of this being like an actual sentient thing. But I just wanted to make it anyway because I thought it was a cool idea. So here we are. I really like what I ended up with. I'm really proud of the design. I was kind of this was one of the first ones I did. So I was kind of grappling between like humanoid design versus like more of a less humanoid design. And of course it is supposed to be like a little like tsundere anime girl because that's an Undertale reference. Haha. I don't know, I think it would be a cool callback. And of course, if there is a western area in the chapter, then this character could certainly go there. Clearly, I was really playing off of like the western aesthetic for this character. I kind of much more so than maybe the cactus part. I did use the color scheme from the green room as well for its color scheme. I do think it's nice. It's a nice color scheme, even though I guess if there is a western area, then the color scheme would probably be different, but oh well. I'm kind of in between like generic recruit darkener or mini boss for this one. I think it could work either way, but I'm kind of leaning towards generic recruit darkener, even though it is pretty like individualized. I think it could work as an enemy you encounter more than once. How to draw dragons, girl. I'm sure you are all waiting for this one. So this is mostly a joke design. Mostly not a joke design. I had a lot of fun with this one. This is really like self-indulgent, I think, because this is like, you know, more in line with like the characters I typically draw, I think, aka like anime girls. Although I do think like generally there is merit to like the concept behind this. There has been a lot of talk in game about this book. With my interpretation specifically, I was kind of focusing on making it like a kind of a foil to Susie, because I think you could definitely do something there. So yeah, I tried to make this character like everything Susie wasn't really. But I do think like if Susie met this character, like I definitely think she'd initially like not like her, but I think they could get along really in the end. The plan was to go off of like those, you know, those like shitty how to draw manga books, because like that's the joke here. I don't think really that's what ended up being the case with the design, you know. And it's also the dragon's clothes are said to be like immodest and scantily clad. I tried going for something like that. I guess I just didn't really want to like really do that. Ultimately, I don't think that kind of a character would show up in the game, like, you know, fully. But I tried to do something there. This was mostly a joke, although I do think there is potential for Susie, not parallels, but, you know, as a foil to Susie. Probably some introspection with Susie as well. Some form of that. Anyway, so yeah, like as a joke, secret boss probably, although it could probably work as a mini boss as well. Now we have my kind of slightly terrifying flowers in the garbage take. Generally, at least in my opinion, I think this is actually like a really good contender for what the secret boss is gonna be. I think like thematically it works very well with the stuff that I think they're going to be going into, aka, you know, the divorce and like, you know, all the drama in the Dreamer family. First and foremost, I thought it would be a good idea to kind of call back to Flowey, but I didn't want it to be so similar to Flowey. I don't know if I succeeded with that really in the end. I do think it's still quite similar. There are a few problems, however, with this concept. I think just like if Flower King does end up being a Dark World location, then like this idea would probably be pretty redundant if we, you know, go into it, you know, in a lot more depth later. Than like, why would we be doing it now? Especially for my design. So I did use all of the what should I call it? What should I call it? I guess the soul colored flowers that are in Asgore's room thing, that are implied to be the same flowers that he gave to her on their wedding. So I'm not saying that he gave her like the same colored flowers on the day that we play the game. So yeah, like the colors I chose here were like 100% symbolic. Like I don't think those were the colors of the flowers in the trash, but I do think it is like a good representation in general of their failed marriage. So yeah, design wise, I think the face itself is like the most similar to Flowey. Technically, it's not their actual face, is I think what I ended up going with. It's kind of like, I don't know what you would call it really, but I guess it's kind of like a mask. It's like, it's part of their skin, I think, but at the same time it's not. Anyway, and then of course I talked about the flower petals, the colors. So yeah, those are like the petals themselves. They're all like, you know, damaged and wilted and whatnot, but they do have this like red ribbon on top of their head. You can probably pretty clearly see like what it's symbolizing. Like my idea was that if this was the secret boss, they would want Chris's soul to like feel whole, I think, is like what my idea was there. And then their body, I kind of made it like tree-like, really, very plant-like and tree-like, while also resembling a wedding dress. That was also the intention. But yeah, I ended up calling it the Weeping Widow. I thought I was very clever for that. I'm not sure though. I'm pretty sure the Weeping Widow is the name of a mushroom, actually. Had I known that, I guess I probably could have added like a mushroom kind of motif on top of this, but maybe, I don't know. It's not worth it, I don't think. It'd be nice to just have some like kind of terrifying creature going on. I don't really know if this is terrifying. I did say that a few times. I think it's a little unsettling. That was my goal anyway. I've seen some pretty good takes for the flowers. I'm not sure. I guess I do like mine in the end. I've seen better ones though. Now there is another character that we'll see later that uses kind of a very similar motif, I think. I'm not sure which one of the two I prefer really, but we'll get to that when we get to it. Just for this one now, like I said, I would put it in the secret boss category. I can't really imagine it being anything else, just because like I do think the flowers are too, like, they're a bit too important to assign to any other thing really, I think. Okay, so this is a darkener that is based off of Chairiel's wedding ring. Now, we don't know exactly if she even has it anymore. I would kind of have to assume she still does. This is very similar to the Flowers secret boss, just like very similar narrative themes. And I do think it's pretty plausible as well. The stuff that happened with Chris's family seems pretty narratively important. I do think like a dark world that is based off of Chris's house would have a secret boss that kind of fits into those themes. Design wise for this one, kind of struggled with it a little, and I'm still not very satisfied with it. You can see like the ring part, the actual ring part, kind of consists of their hair, or their hair consists of rings, sort of. And then they have the things on their head as well. There's supposed to be kind of horns additionally. Just wanted to keep that theme going, I guess, especially because it is related to Chairiel, so that makes sense. And then of course the diamond. I I don't know too much about like wedding rings and stuff. I think it's not very common to have diamonds and things on like wedding rings. That's more of an engagement ring thing. Honestly, that doesn't make too much sense to me. This is a tangent, but like, why? I don't know. I don't really get why wedding rings are less fancy than engagement rings, because like you're gonna have the wedding ring for a lot longer, you know. Anyway, I mean, I guess not much longer if we go off like divorce rates and stuff, especially because you know, yeah, they are divorced. Anyway. So yeah, there's that. And then I did the veil, of course, and they're supposed to be also kind of wearing a wedding dress that is like tainted at the tips, so it's very similar to my flower design I made earlier. And then the like, I guess like the folds in the veil are supposed to resemble tears as well. And then I guess they don't really have arms. I thought it would look kind of weird with the arms. The arms it does have, it's more of like a wing kind of thing going on. I don't know, just like why not at this point? It's not too weird to put wing in imagery, I think, on secret bosses and stuff. Like she wouldn't be the first, you know? Like I said, probably a secret boss, just like, again, conceptually. For this one, like from this design specifically, it could also work as a mini boss, but just like because of its narrative importance, probably a secret boss. This is a darkener based off of a emergency broadcast alert. So this was like the first kind of generic TV thing that I made. I was having a lot of trouble like actually thinking of stuff. I thought it would be a lot easier than it ended up being, and such. There is not a lot of generic TV darkeners that I ended up with. I was even going so far as to like look up, I remember looking up TV tropes, because I couldn't think of anything, and I don't remember if that was how I came to this, or if it just like happened organically. I don't even remember. Everything's a blur. But anyway, I do like this idea. I'm not so sure about like the guy I ended up with really. I mean, there's some like good stuff in there. I think I do like the multiple legs. I wrote down they're supposed to reference like smear frames. It's a little guy. He's an emergency alert system. I don't know what else to say really. Obviously this is just supposed to be a standard recruit darkener. This guy, much like the emergency broadcast system, which was I think what I had just made prior to this one, another like kind of, you know, just a TV based thing. That's what it is. But unlike that guy, holy fuck, did I cook with this one. I unironically really like the design I ended up with, honestly. If I wasn't spot on with this design, I will probably use it for my own projects. I don't know, it's really stupid, but I like it a lot. I should probably explain though, it's probably a little incomprehensible at first glance. So, you know, on my journey to like research various like TV things, I was looking at different like crew positions because I thought that was like the easiest place to start. I'll show you what really caught my eye though. Alright, so I was on the television crew Wikipedia page specifically, looking through like everything, came across this. So this guy is based off of what is called a runner. Not a showrunner, but a runner. So from my understanding, it's basically like not an intern, but they're kind of like the lowest they're like the lowest in the production team, I think. They basically just like help out more or less. So I guess it's similar to an intern. I'm not sure. Either way, I'm sure these people definitely like help the production process like smoothly run out, you know, pun intended, I guess. Not trying to discredit not trying to discredit this job. Anyway, what caught my eye specifically was that it says in the United States this position is sometimes called a gopher, and I was like, oh my god, a gopher? That is like the most perfect pun waiting to happen. So obviously, what I first drew was just like an actual gopher, like the animal. Then I realized, you know, that's not really like Deltarune design-esque. So, you know, I did have it like carrying a coffee cup. I thought that was cute. I thought that was a cute idea, but I decided I wanted to make it like, you know, a little more. So I made it a camera, actually. I made it a filming camera, and it has one singular eye. We'll see that come up again soon, although not really intentionally. Honestly, it's just kind of something that happened, this like one eye imagery, I guess. I don't really know why, but in the moment I was thinking, like, you know, camera, eye, it's a camera, and it like, you know, it has one eye. Whatever, anyway. So yeah, it's basically, it's a gopher and a camera, and it's also a runner, which is also sometimes called a gopher. He's really cool. I like him a lot. So yeah, this was intended to be a generic recruit darkener. Here we have my early animation character, I guess. Just starting off, I really would not be surprised if there was a character like this in the game, just because like there seems to be like a general like early 20s / like, you know, that kind of time period-ish of like TV. If we're going off like the mob themes and like noir and all that, an early animation character definitely seems reasonable to have. For my character specifically, I thought it would be cool to do something based off of Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. I was always, as a child, I was really into this character. I was really into Epic Mickey, so there's that. But like, more than that, I just think it would be cool because like, not only is like this kind of like old animation style not relevant, but like the character itself has a history of like being replaced by another character that's much more popular than it is. So like, for my end idea here, I put this like mask over its face with like kind of a more modern cartoon style. But there is a crack in it, so you can see like part of its face. Is that a cut on your face or part of your eye moment? Not intentional, but and the idea with the mask, I guess, was that it would be trying to like make itself more popular again, because, you know, it was shoved into obscurity. Now it's trying to come back, you know, pretty secret bossy, I know. But anyway, I like not a huge fan of what I ended up here with. I've seen a lot cooler designs that use this kind of idea that are a lot better than this one, but I still wanted to try my hand at it, especially just because I did not have a lot of like general TV stuff things here, so I needed to get this one in here. Actually, when I was researching for this, I found out that Oswald is public domain now, so that's fun. Forget Woody theory, get on fucking Oswald's theory. So yeah, conceptually, I think like the idea works for a secret boss, definitely. This guy specifically, probably a mini boss, but yeah. Alright, Tenna, the big one. So before I get into my design specifically, I really wanted to talk about something that inspired bits of my design. I mean, it was an inspiration going in. I'm not sure like how much it ended up reflecting, but I do feel the need to talk about it because like I feel like what I'm about to talk about is like going to be an actual inspiration for Tenna's actual design, and I haven't really seen many people talking about it. So basically, this all comes from a post I saw on Reddit, actually. Here it is, I'll put it up. Basically, what this person said was that they think that a character from Little King's story called TV Tenna is going to be an inspiration for Tenna. Admittedly, I've never played a Little King's story, but I was familiar with this character beforehand because people have also said that this character, TV Tenna, was possibly an inspiration for Metaton, and you can definitely see that. As this person pointed out in the post as well, is that like the people who made this also made Moon Remix RPG Adventure, which is another game I'm personally not very familiar with, but it is a game that inspired Toby and a lot of the things that are in Undertale. So considering I'm pretty sure it's the same developers, considering that, it's not too out there, I think, to suggest that this character could have inspired Tenna. As you see, it is a TV character who like rules a TV world, TV themed world, and it basically, I think like the section of this game where you fight this boss, it's basically like flipping through various channels and whatnot, which already sounds pretty familiar to what a lot of people theorized Chapter 3's Dark World is going to be like. I mean, for starters, we do know that like at the very least there's going to be different sections probably based off of different TV shows. Like I think we can infer that from El Nina and La Nino, and then in addition also the scrapped quote-unquote western area, and then even the shadow guys. Like they all seem to be different genres of TV, so that's one similarity. Speaking of western, this character TV Tenna, you do like fight him in a western setting, so take that what you will. So yeah, like I said, I am not super familiar with this game, but even like the first quote on his Wikipedia page, which is where I'm getting all this information from, talks about, you know, going into the depths of the conscious mind, which like I also do think is going to be connected to Tenna in some way. There was a really good Twitter thread I read a while back that kind of talks about that and like Tenna's connection with the Ice Palace pages of the Spamton sweepstakes, and all that. Basically, what I'm trying to say, I think this character could like genuinely be an inspiration for what Tenna is going to turn out to be, and so I tried to use that as a inspiration for my own design. Okay, now I think we're ready to go into my actual design now. So Tenna was definitely the character I struggled with designing the most, which is pretty funny considering he's like, you know, one of the characters we like really know about. He's the main boss and everything, and he's like what kind of what inspired me to even like do this in the first place. Like part of the problem is that I've seen so many like cool Tenna designs, and like, it just like I was both trying to like live up to that while also not like copying anyone. Just very, very difficult. It's also just like not the kind of character design I'm used to designing, but I think I ended up with something good. To start off with, I think what like propelled most of my like actual design is that like two or several or multiple like faces kind of thing I have going on. It kind of goes back to, or it kind of connects to the thing with King with his like multiple mouths, I would say. But I think like, you know, the idea of like smiles in Deltarune in general kind of prevalent as well. So I thought that would work, especially for like the main boss of the chapter. So yeah, you can see I used the antenna as like I used the antenna as eyes. And then the band on his hat was supposed to kind of form a smile. And then there's actually kind of a third mouth on the top as well. That being the horns slash sunglasses. We'll talk about those sunglasses momentarily. But yeah. And then of course there's like his actual face. And then you see the one eye. I told you it would come back. So yeah, basically he has multiple faces. I don't know. I just thought it'd be a cool idea. I think TVs kind of go hand in hand with like surveillance. So I also think it plays into that. And then the one eye, of course, was inspired by TV Tenna. I just thought it would look cool, but of course it wouldn't show all the time. You know, much like Queen, it's like normally you can't see their eyes, but sometimes you can see stuff. I guess in Queen's case, you can't see her eyes ever. You just see words and things. But like most of their time, their face would be covered. That was the idea. So yes, and then there's supposed to be kind of a star shape that forms with the, I don't really know what I should call it right now because I'll get into it, but like the things on the sides of his head and then like the big collar that's sort of supposed to form a star, which I think fits well with like everything going on. And then these stripes, of course. There are stripes on the horns slash sunglasses. And on the jacket and pants, because that's also very reminiscent of mob boss clothes, I think. At least just like based off of my Google searches. And of course I also wanted to like include the mafia slash mob kind of thing going on, because I certainly think that is like what is going on with this character. I talked earlier, I'm going to be bringing this up a lot, but I talked earlier about how Mettaton could have possibly be inspired by TV Tenna, and it's like, it is a thought I had that I'm like, how is Toby gonna make two different like very TV focused characters? Like, how are we gonna differentiate this from Mettaton? And I certainly think that like by making him like a mob boss, that is like that's that's a way to differentiate it, you know? So I try to make his outfit and everything very mob boss-esque. I did draw him holding a microphone, kind of just because, again, I wanted to make the TV Tenna connection. Although, something tells me he won't really like, I don't really think he'll be much of a showman, per se. I think he'll like be everywhere in like kind of a symbolic sense, but like really he'll be like working from the background, but like you do see his face everywhere. So yeah, like whether or not he'll like actually be holding a microphone, probably not. But yeah, so I thought that stripes would be a good motif to play into. And then of course you have the shine on the glasses. Those are also stripes. Like I said, I did use that shine as well on my knockoff controller character, so that's another repeated motif. And then of course the big thing, not the big thing, it's kind of a big thing to me. Like, I've seen a lot of Tenna designs that are pretty boss monster-esque, pretty goat-esque. And I just think that's so cool. Like, it would be really cool if Tenna was a goat. Like, I just think it would work so well thematically, narratively. It would be so cool if he, like, was a parallel to Asgore. So that's kind of what I was working with, but I didn't want to make him, like, directly a goat. He still more or less has a TV head, but I did want to, like, much like with my chair designs from earlier, I wanted to create, like, a silhouette that's pretty boss monster-esque. So you have the ears that are kind of protruding from the head. That's kind of like the only word I could give to it, I guess. They're just kind of things that are protruding. And then originally the horns were also just things that were protruding. Then I like suddenly woke up in like the middle of the night and I was like, holy shit, what if I made those horns into sunglasses? So I even like scribbled it down on my notes app so I wouldn't forget. So they ended up being sunglasses, and I think it worked out pretty well. So yeah, that's what's going on with his head. And then I wanted to keep the like TV part like actual like staticky still, because I think there's like a lot of association that Tenna has to static already. but I guess it would be cool if it like periodically flashed like different images as well. That'd be really cool. And again, it would be another connection to to TV Tenna. I'm really convinced on that. I guess it would also connect to Photoshop Flowey. When I'm watching playthroughs, a lot of people, when they see Tenna, they like think back to Photoshop Flowey. And like when I was playing, that was not my initial thought, but I certainly see that. I think that's all I have to say about my Tenna. I've certainly seen better ones, but I am like mildly satisfied with what I ended up with. Really struggled with it, but I think what I ended up with is passable. So of course, yeah, that's Tenna. He's in his own category because he is the main boss, is what is strongly implied. Alright, so we're not done here. Mike. So yeah, I did want to ultimately include Mike. I was kind of thinking like maybe not personally. I do have my own ideas about Mike. I guess to start off with, first and foremost, I do not think that Mike is the same as Image Friend. And obviously by now we also know that Mike is not the TV. But that kind of goes without saying. So, my idea for what Mike is, I think he is radio. Just like in general, I think he encapsulates the concept of radio. And he is like a microphone. I do think he could be a phone as well, but like I do lean towards the radio idea. Almost solely because of the video killed the radio star reference that it can make. Like I really do think that's plausible. We do know that Tenna did something to Mike, and so like that could definitely be something. And so that's really what I leaned into here. I was having trouble at first because like I was like, what do I make his head? But then I discovered this very old microphone called a carbon microphone, and they used this. It's a very old microphone. I have to assume it was used in radio at some point, I hope. And then for like the actual character, I wanted to like do kind of an old-fashioned kind of entertainer type thing. Knowing that, I kind of wish I made Tenna more like modern looking, although like I'm pretty sure that's really not gonna be the case. But that was the intention. So yeah, it's just this idea of like radio going obsolete because TV replaced it. So yeah, I do like this design. I was gonna try my hand at like a more phone focused design, but I couldn't really think of anything, so I just stuck with this one. To be frank, this design, even though I drew it for Mike, it's still not really what I picture Mike to be in my head. It's just like that the image in my head, I just like can't really transfer it, I guess, visually. I'm like, I think it's a good design. It's a good design for like what I wanted, but it's still not really how I picture Mike. Like, honestly, the first time Spamton mentioned Mike, I was like just kind of picturing in my head just like just some guy. And honestly, that's kind of poetic. I think that would work too. I don't know. He did end up looking very different than like what I intentioned, I think. I think he kind of looks like a cross between Mr. Peanut and the fucking Monopoly guy. Yeah, that's my Mike, I guess. I certainly think, if anything, Mike would probably be a secret boss. Although, honestly, I don't know if this is a hot take, but I feel like Mike could just be like a character that we never meet, too. Like, we do know that something happened to him, so yeah, either secret boss or just character we never meet. Kind of two ends of the spectrum there, but that's what it is. Yeah. But wait, there's more. Okay, so, I mean, if you're in the Deltarune fandom, you know what this is. Even if you're not, you might know what this is as well. Either way, I feel like I've already crossed like a threshold where I've kind of alienated most people who don't know what Deltarune is. But anyway, at this point, it's like, whatever, you know? Friend inside me. Woody theory, whatever you want to call it. I made a guy. I wasn't planning on doing this originally. Part of the reason I did it was because I looked back at everything I had and I was like, I feel like I don't have enough. And I figured, you know, this was like an easy little bonus I could do. So me personally, I'm still a Woody theory truther, I have to say. I feel like it's like way more plausible than people give it credit for. Honestly, if there isn't anything cowboy related in the chapter, I'm gonna be surprised, you know? Like, okay, maybe it's not the secret boss. Sure. But like, with everything that's there, it's looking pretty likely. But anyway, so yeah, so for my design specifically, I did draw from, you know, what we have, the, you know, our guys in the cowboy outfits. And then I did use my cactus girl design from earlier. I mean, that was another thing. I drew this whole cowboy cactus, or cowgirl, I should say. And they didn't draw a friend inside me. Like, you know, what was the point? And then, of course, in the end, I did kind of grayscale-ish. I definitely made the colors very desaturated, as, you know, a funny little nod to friend inside me, I guess. I don't know. I do like the design I ended up with. It's also very, like, I guess it's supposed to be like a scarecrow-ish. That's kind of just something that happened. As you could see in the video, it was very straightforward. I didn't have a problem with the actual design itself. It was like, okay, this is what I'm making. I feel like it does look vaguely like a horror character, although, like, I'm not sure which one. So I think that's just kind of like a subconscious influence that happened. Now obviously I did go for like a more like horror-y, scary, spooky design. Just because I feel like that's what would fit it most, I think. If we're running off the assumption that this is like a character, you know, who had a cowboy show, but then they canceled it, it's like, you know, we're kind of just going along with like the secret boss stuff, where it's like, this guy, he was normal, then he went insane. Wow. So yeah, that's basically what this is. I don't think I have anything else to say about it. Maybe I did draw the image friend dies. I did write just for funsies, lol. I've seen better friend inside me's, I think. But I do like this one. He's pretty alright. And I think he was a needed addition to my little personal cast of characters, I think. But anyway, I think that's it. And obviously, he'd be a secret boss. So that was all of them. Overall, I'd say I'm pretty proud of what I ended up making, I think. At the very least, I had fun. I had fun thinking about all of the various guys that could appear. Honestly, I really don't see too many people making, like, you know, regular standard Darkner designs. That especially was really fun to think about and make. So yeah, again, this wasn't supposed to be like a, you know, this is 100% what it's gonna look like. No, I don't think that. I am not a professional designer. Probably wrong on a lot of things, but again, I did have fun making my little guys. and I made them in time before chapter 3 actually comes out. I'm sure there's a lot that can be done with these concepts, so I'd love to hear about any ideas for characters that you have. So feel free to drop that in the comments or whatever. If you watched this whole video, thank you. It's really my first, like, Deltarune video that's not just me, like, reading the newsletter or whatnot. So, thank you for watching, and, bye.